Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Keeping Your Marriage Hot and Holy podcast. I'm Chara Taylor, your hot and holy love coach. I'm coming to you with a new series. This is going to be Confessions of a Godly Wife. And the next few episodes are going to coincide with the blog that is on my website, keepithotandholy.com. I'm going to be giving you some transparent moments and great look into some of the things that I have learned as a godly wife. It is going to be very transparent, eye-opening, and probably most of all, shocking to you. So hold on to your seats. And as always, if you enjoy this content, I do ask that you share it with others so that other people can learn how to keep their marriage hot and holy. They can get some tips, tools, and maybe even some toys to enhance their marriage. All right, so let me go ahead and get started with this one. Confessions of a Godly Wife. All right, I want to talk about how I was a stumbling block as a godly wife, how that was revealed to me early on in our marriage. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever been frustrated that your spouse is behaving a certain way? Yeah, most likely your answer is yes. Have you ever considered that some of your behaviors is what contributed to what you see your spouse doing? Let me tell you what happened. So there was a period in our marriage when my husband struggled with watching inappropriate things on television, the computer, and even on his phone. When it first happened, I was crushed. I wasn't even looking for it, but it was revealed to me by way of the Holy Spirit. Being as devastated as I was, I contacted our pastor at the time because I seriously was an emotional wreck. And so the first thing I did in this was start to wonder what was wrong with me. Why wasn't I good enough for him? Why did he need to watch those things when he's married to me? I felt betrayed. I felt less than. And this affected my self-esteem. And this affected my womanhood. Well, the pastor took some time to explain to me that it wasn't my fault. And that many people who struggle with this, they have an internal sickness that needs to be dealt with. He went on to explain to me the concepts of perversion and how that door can be opened by many means. Could come by way of molestation, could come by way of someone introducing it to them. So there's various ways that this door could have been opened. I listened, I learned, and I understood. This led me to pray for my husband fervently about this, and to pray for myself. It seemed to have stopped for a very long time. All right, so prayer, confrontation, we talked about it, we had conversation about it, and then for about a period of 7 years, there was nothing. There was nothing. We went through Bible college, graduated from school, and all those things, and then it happened again. It started up again. And I was so confused. But I did not call anyone for any help this time. This time, I went on a fast. I sought wisdom and direction from God. Now, here's where it gets a little murky. Stay with me. I thought that as a godly woman, all I needed to do was pray and that God would deal with his heart and change him. However, what I found out is that God wanted to work in me and do some change in me. How funny is that? So one night, I asked my husband if I could watch one of the movies with him. He looked at me like I was crazy. I let him know that I wanted to see what it was all about. In my mind, I wanted to watch so that I could gather information on exactly how to pray. I wanted to be strategic in my prayers. I was looking to see what kind of movies he was watching so that I could pray against it. Sometimes, people have their different preferences. So I wanted to see what was his preference so I knew how to pray. But I never said that to him. I just asked if I could watch it with him. So after thinking about it for a few days, he agreed. And so while we started watching a movie, I started asking questions. I asked if he wanted me to look like the woman that was on screen. And then I had to admit, I was like, hey, look, I can't look like her. We're two different ethnicities. there's no way for me to look like her. There's no way for my hair to look like hers. Can't change the color of my eyes. I can't look like her. Is that what you like? Then I asked if he wanted me to do some of the things that I saw the women doing. And I confessed, listen, my body shape and size is not going to allow me to do those different things. I just can't get into those positions. I have to lose some weight. I think I was frustrating him, okay? I really think that I was frustrating him with all the questions, because he finally just said, Chara, do you want me to tell you what does it for me about these movies? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I would love to know. His answer actually humbled me. He said, do you see how soft she is in her movements and her tone? She's very soft and feminine. That is what does it for me. Wow. Mind blown. I felt stupid. I felt very, very stupid. Okay. Here I am. I'm a very strong black woman. And everybody who knows me knows that I love being a black woman. Okay. I was raised to be independent, and I focus on needing a man. That doesn't mean that I never say I need one. That just wasn't my focus. I had always lived doing things for myself. And I also wasn't afraid to fight. If there was a battle and it needed to be fought, hey, I was willing and ready. So yes, I was rough and tough with my Afro puffs. I was rough and tough in everything that I did, even in the biblical world. Most people would call me, what they label and term as a quote unquote prayer warrior. So look, I was even rough and tough in prayer. I wasn't easy going, and I always prayed with much intensity. Everything for me was intense. So it took me some time to understand that when I'm with my husband, I didn't need to be so rough and tough. However, in our many conversations, I always came off as dominant and not soft and feminine. No matter how hard I tried, I just always came off so strong. Now, strength and dominance, it's okay, and it has its appropriate times when it should manifest. But I was living in the independence and the strong black woman in absolutely everything that I did, and at all times. I learned that I was indeed been a stumbling block for my husband. He was seeking softness, and I was giving him everything except softness. Instead of going out to physically connect with another person to experience what he craved and desired, he resorting to watching it through pornography. While the initial sin was not my fault, I was contributing to him falling back into sinful behaviors by my very own behaviors. I went in trying to find out how to pray for him, and I ended up learning that God wanted to work on me. I began to work on being softer as a wife. And God worked in his life to completely deliver him from that life of sin. Now, he shares his own testimony about how God has delivered him. But I am the one that got the greatest lesson. Now, this is a story of our past. God did deliver us both, and our marriage is no longer plagued by pornography nor female masculinity all the time. So I am not always walking in female masculinity. Sometimes it shows up, but I have learned when to turn it up and when to turn it off. I've learned when to use it and when not to use it. Here's the key. I thought I was being a godly wife, praying and fasting and doing all the spiritual disciplines and having my time with God, devotion and everything. I thought I had the answer through my judgment of his behaviors. But what I found out is that I was the stumbling block in his life. My very behavior and actions contributed to him missing the mark with Christ. I had to repent and allow God to work in me to transform my mind and my actions. Yeah, it was eye-opening for me. It was very eye-opening for me to see that a lot of the things that I wanted to complain about, and in this particular, what I wanted to complain about, while he needed some help, I wasn't helping him with my behaviors and my actions as well. And we weren't at a healthy place at the time where we could have a conversation where he could say something. Now, he had mentioned some things to me before, but I took it offensively. Did not realize and understand the impact that the female masculinity that I was giving off how it was impacting him and affecting him. Now I want you to do something. I want you to think about the behavior that you see in your spouse that's frustrating you beyond belief. All right. Now, once you have identified it, I want you to seek and ask God to show you if and how you are contributing to this behavior. Ask God to reveal if you are being a stumbling block to your spouse. Now, we don't want to be a stumbling block to our spouse or anyone for that matter, because the blood is then on our hands, and we then will and must give an account for what we have done, not what they have done. Don't allow their behaviors to keep you out of alignment with the will and the purpose of God in your life. Most often, He's trying to use us in a healthy manner to win our spouses over. See if you're being a stumbling block. See if your attitude is being a stumbling block. See if your anger is being a stumbling block. See if there's something that you are doing that is contributing to the behavior that you see in your spouse. All right, let me get off here. These are my confessions. These are my confessions, the confessions of a godly wife, and I want you to know that I'm no longer a stumbling block. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my confession. Come back next week for another confession as I continue to confess as a godly wife on how God used the very thing in my marriage to shape and change me and the course of our marriage. And until we talk and until you come back, I want you to keep it hot and holy. I am Chara Taylor, your hot and holy love coach. Please feel free to connect with me on any of the social media outlets and platforms, or send a comment. Let me know what you think about this. I hope that this is helpful. I would love your feedback. You can leave a comment right here on this podcast, or you can send me an email at awakenlovemm@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time, and keep it hot and holy.